Hey everybody. I wanted to just touch base with you before you watch the video. My battery died on my M50. While I was filming, which you'll see in the video. So I ended up losing my camera person. Hadley slinked off to probably go into video game world. But I ended up using my iPhone for the remaining of the video shoots, so it really didn't come out as good as I wanted it to. There was a little bit of flow, video to video flow challenges, without having everything the way I wanted it with the M50. Anyway, so yeah, in this video I go through the process of de-winterizing the camper. It was, chock full of RV antifreeze everywhere except the the hot water heater, which was isolated out. I had, it's important that you don't put the RV antifreeze inside the hot water heater. It's not good for it, and it's not good for the diode. So anyway, there's isolation valves, which you'll see in the video. So you can take the RV antifreeze out with fresh water, or you can do it with air. I chose to flush with fresh water because I felt it would push more of the RV antifreeze out of the system and into the gray water tank. But certainly you can do it with air. Some people don't use RV antifreeze, and that's perfectly fine if you do it correctly. But I chose to use the RV antifreeze last winter to really make sure everything was okay. So in this video, I use water from my outdoor water faucet. I got it hooked up to first I hook it up to the antifreeze inlet, and I purge everything out of all the faucets. And once that's done, I switch the hose over, which you may not see in the video. Once again, I lost my camera person. I switched the hose over to the city water inlet on the back of the camper, and I changed the valve over. There's a valve on the inside you have to flip. Alright, and I show that in the video. And once again, I flush everything that way with water from my hose, from the house, from the outdoor faucet. And once that is done, I started working on the hot water heater. So once I was pretty confident that there was no, there was no RV antifreeze left, then you'll see I flush out the hot water heater, and then I don't show it in the video, but I put the drain anode back in, and I pressurize the hot water system without turning the hot water elements on, which brings up a good point. You don't want to turn on your hot water heater without water in there, without the system being pressurized with fresh water. There's a switch on the water heater outside, and there's a switch in here. So as long as they're both off, when there's no water in there, you're fine. Anyway, so once I drain out the hot water, I flush it a little bit. I then put the anode back in, and I pressurize the tank. I pressurize the hot water tank, and you'll see in the video that process, minus a couple shots. I lost my camera person. So, and that's kind of it in a nutshell. You'll also see after I flushed everything through the antifreeze and then through city water, I also then added some fresh water to my freshwater tank, and then reflushed everything again into the gray water tank. All right. So that's kind of the long and the short of the video. And in the future, I do want to make a video of blowing out all the water with air. I just haven't done that yet. So thanks for watching. Alright, so it's on. We can just decide when we're ready. Ooh, is that crooked? Let's check that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's like looking over here.
That's better.
Oh. It needs
Okay.
to be pointed up a little bit, I think.
You want
Or
up?
it's only going to be able to see, like...
No, it sees us.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright.
You start.
Okay. Hi. I'm Andrew.
I'm Hadley.
And
Today, on this episode of Auspicious-Outdoors, we are doing outdoorsy stuff. Actually, we are planning on doing a harvest host trip tonight on Cape Cod, at Cape Cod Beer, and I'm pretty excited about that. And so the camper has been in hibernation mode. Although we did use it in February, we did not take the antifreeze out of the system. So today, it's a 45-degree day. We're gonna go ahead and de-winterize our 2020 Rue 19. I've been looking forward to this, pretty much in camping withdrawals all winter. So this is fun, and Hadley's gonna be the camera technician and also help with the process. All right, let's start.
I can't see.
First thing I want to do is make sure that for now that the hot water heater is still isolated out of the loop, so we don't get any RV antifreeze into the hot water heater. So it should be as I left it. So I'm going to take out the seat. Okay. Looks like I found a toy. All right, Hadley, if you can come over here and take a look at this. Okay. So if you look in here, and Hadley, if you can zoom in with the, yep, you zoom in down there, you can see that the valves are isolating out. They're in line with the hot and the cold, and there's nothing going into the hot water heater right now. Okay, you can zoom out and come back up. So I just wanted to double check that I wasn't going to get any antifreeze into the hot water heater, so we're all set with that. All right, we're going to go out. All right, so the first thing I need to do is find my, I'm actually going to use water to purge the system instead of air. So we need to get our water pressure reducer. I think it's over here. Let's look. Definitely like, so you want to back up so you can see what's up. Battery low? Oh. All right, let's go charge the battery. I've got my water pressure reducer, so I'm going to hook that up to the hose and put some water into the system. So if you look, I've got the I got the fresh water hooked up to the camper, and if you read the label, antifreeze inlet to antifreeze, close the valve to the tank, open the valve to the inlet. Okay, so I've done that. And if you look in here, you got the valve right there. I believe I've got it set up correctly. Anyway, you can see, you know, I still have my RV antifreeze in the water filter without the filter in it. All right, you can see the water is the RV antifreeze, non-toxic RV antifreeze is starting to purge. Let's try this one. Gonna keep running until it's no longer pink. Okay, so the water out of the shower was all clear. All the pink was gone. Kind of still working on the sinks here. That looks really good. Let's check this hot. Okay, there's more out of the hot water. It's actually still a little cold in here, but not cold enough to freeze right now. That's looking good. Let that run a little more. Let's check over here. That's getting clear. Okay, so I now have the hose on the city water connection, and it's time to flip the valve because we're done with okay, so now the valve is ready for city water, not antifreeze anymore. Okay, next up is the hot water tank. So it looks like I did put the hot water tank drain back in, and it looks like the purge at the top is closed. So this is ready to go. I am going to check to make sure that's tight, and I'm actually going to put some new threads on there and check the anode. There should not be any water in there at all. And there's the anode. That's actually not too bad. That's from one season. What did we do? 6 trips. So although I will replace this, this is not bad. There's still some life left on that anode. Anyway, what I'm going to do is retape, add some new tape here, and put it back in snug. Not too tight. Okay, so I flushed all the faucets from the city water inlet also. And the next thing I need to do is to open the valves on the hot water heater. I have the anode out at the bottom of the hot water heater just to drain out anything that is at the bottom of the hot water heater over the winter. There was no water in there because I drained it out and isolated the valves, but when I opened it, there was a little bit of pressure in there. I don't know if it was just a temperature difference or if it was pressure. I'm not sure. There wasn't much, but I did notice, you know, a little bit of I don't know, yucky water drain out the bottom, very little, like 1 drop, 2 drops. So I'm going to open the valves on the hot water heater, and I'm going to let it flush out and drain onto the ground, and then I'll stop the water and put the anode in. So I'm doing this on purpose to get rid of any nasty water that's inside, whatever was residual inside there, inside the hot water heater. You can see it's coming out fairly clean now. There are probes you can buy to swish around the bottom of the hot water heater to clean it out. This doesn't look bad at all. So I'm going to shut the water off. Okay, so with the water pressure off from the city water connection, I've also taken out my inline freshwater filter. I have the filter from last season, which we barely put any hours on, and quite frankly, it looks awesome. So I'm going to reuse it for a little while into the season. So that's going to go back in there, and I'm going to reinstall it. Once again, I'm looking for any leaks. I've got that hand tight just a little bit more. Just kind of cranked down a little. I do have some valves open in the camper. Let's go check those out. So what I find is that if you don't purge out all the air out of the system in this camper, and I'm assuming it's common for other campers, your freshwater pump may not always prime. So I'm going to go around and try to get out as much air as I can. Lots of air in there. There's water coming out there pretty soon. Come on. That's coming from the hot water heater, which is not on right now, but it's cycling from there. that run a little bit because, you know, that's water from the hot water heater. Remember, we need to purge kind of any residual sediments that were in there. So definitely purge through that. Let that run until you don't hear any more air. And before we do the cold, why don't we go over to the hot here? Push the cold, letting the air out. Cold. So, and the next step after installing the water filter. I mean, that's pretty much done. The only thing we really haven't done is add fresh water to the holding tank. I think I have a 30-gallon holding tank here. I'm actually going to add some water and then just kind of dump it to flush the tank a bit. This is by no means a proper, you know, cleaning of the freshwater holding tank. That's a different process of adding, you know, a certain amount of bleach to the tank, letting it sit, and then draining it, which I'm going to do in the future. But for now, we're just going to flush the tank a little bit. We do drink from our freshwater tank. I intentionally keep it clean and sanitized with bleach, and I have another solution that I'll add throughout the season. But we do use our filter, which you already saw. And you know, the water from our well here is pretty clean. It's also filtered from the house, so it's pretty good water. I think the lowest common denominator will be how clean is my freshwater holding tank, and you know, I will make an effort to keep that clean. So let's pop this valve at the bottom of the camper and let some of this new fresh water drain out. So how much fresh water do you want in your tank? Well, it depends. Let's check it out right now. I'm at 1/3. If I'm going somewhere that has freshwater hookups, I only keep a little bit of water in my tank, like 1/3 or less. It helps keep everything primed. Obviously, you know, if you're gonna let that water sit for a long time, you definitely want to drain it and you get fresh water, you know, if you're not using your water tank. But since we're going somewhere without water, I'm going to put in that up to maybe 1/3, 2/3 amount of water, so we have plenty to go. I've hit 2/3. I'm going to go turn the water off. All right, the next thing, now that I've added water to the tank, is I want to purge some of the water that was in those lines out. So I'm just going to run the faucets again. Right now we're taking water out of the freshwater tank, running it through the pump, and just kind of purging old water out of the lines if there was any in there. There shouldn't be much. It was mostly RV antifreeze. So I'm just being extra cautious and moving old water out if there is any. One of the things that I'm also going to do is check my low point drain. And there could be some antifreeze, you know, in that area, so I'm going to go ahead and open that. Just let it drain. Okay, I did get a tiny bit of RV antifreeze and then fresh water out of the low point drain, tighten it back up. I'd say the camper is pretty much de-winterized. Thanks for watching the video, and maybe I'll create a video when I come back about blowing out the water with air, because we got some cold weather coming again.